She was forced to sit alone at her ex's wedding, humiliated, abandoned, and trying not to cry in front of everyone. But just when the whispers got louder, a billionaire walked up, took her hand, and said, "Act like you're with me." Suddenly, every eye in the room turned. The same people who mocked her were stunned silent. What started as a fake rescue becomes something no one expected, a lie that might heal two broken hearts, or destroy them both. Because this billionaire isn't who he seems. And the woman everyone pitied? She's about to uncover a truth powerful enough to change both their lives forever. Was it fate that made him stop at her table? Or something he's been hiding all along? Tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now, and if this story speaks to you, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The envelope looked too heavy for good news. It came on a humid Friday afternoon, the kind of Georgia heat that made the air feel like a wet blanket. Ariel Grant found it on her shop counter, tucked between a stack of ribbon spools and a vase of white lilies she was conditioning for a Saturday pickup. The envelope was thick and ivory, the kind you saw in the windows of fancy stationery stores. Her name, Ms. Ariel Grant, was written in gold ink that curled like a promise, or a dare. She turned it in her hands. It carried the light perfume of someone's expensive life. She knew that scent. It smelled like the past coming back. She slid a nail under the flap and eased it open. Inside lay a wedding invitation. She didn't even need to read the names to know which wedding it was. Her chest had already guessed. But she read them anyway, because that was what brave people did. Daniel Reeves and Tessa Moore, the Langford Hotel, Saturday 4 p.m. Reception to follow. Black tie optional. Her breath left like someone had pushed it out. For a long moment she stared at the loops in Tessa's name. It had been Ariel's name that once looped beside Daniel's. She wasn't a jealous person, she told herself. But pain didn't ask for permission. It just slid in and took a seat. A ribbon spool rolled off the counter and hit the floor with a soft tap. She flinched at the sound, then laughed once, a short sound that did not feel like her. She laid the invite back on the counter, smoothed it flat with her palm, and looked around her shop as if it might answer. The little place was tidy and bright. Sunlight fell through the big front window and made the stems in the buckets shine a wet green. A chalkboard behind the register listed weekend orders. On the wall hung an old photo of her mother, Anna, in a nurse's uniform, grinning at a church picnic with a paper plate of ribs in her hand. That smile had held their world together more than once. Ariel took in a breath that tasted like green stems and soap. Then she reached for her phone. "Hey, Mama," she said when Anna picked up. "I hear that voice," Anna said. "What's wrong, baby?" "They invited me." Anna didn't ask who. A soft silence, then, "You bring it over. I'll make tea. I'm closing up in 10. I'll put the kettle on." Ariel set the open sign to closed, flipped the bolt, and moved through the closing routine with careful hands. She refilled the buckets. She logged payments. She wrapped the lilies in damp paper, checked that the cooler door shut tight, and set the alarm. She did each small thing like a prayer, because small things were how you kept moving. The air outside laid itself over her skin. She walked to the car with the envelope in her purse, as if it might break if she held it too tight. Her mother's apartment was 8 minutes away if the lights were kind. Today, the lights were kind. Anna opened the door before Ariel knocked. She wore soft house clothes and that same church picnic smile, only gentler now. The small apartment smelled like lemon oil, starch, and hope. "Sit down," Anna said. "Put your feet up. Let me see it." Ariel handed over the envelope. Anna slid the card out, read it once, and set it on the coffee table as if it had a temperature. "Well," Anna said, "they sure are bold." "It's tomorrow," Ariel said. 4 p.m. "I see that. They put my name on it, Not just some mass thing, it's real. I see that too. Ariel looked at her hands. There was a watermark on one knuckle from the shop. She rubbed it with her thumb. Should I go? Anna lifted her eyes. They were soft and steady. Do you want the kind answer or the strong answer? Both. The kind answer, Anna said, is you don't owe anybody your presence where your heart will get bruised all over again. The strong answer is that sometimes we walk straight into a hard room just to prove to ourselves that God gave us a spine. Ariel half smiled. You always have a sermon. Only because I needed every one of them first. Anna said. She touched the back of Ariel's hand. If you go with your head high. Not to cry, not to throw shade, not to compete. You go to sit, to breathe, and to leave when you're ready. You won't be going for them, you'll be going for you. And if I don't go, you will still be whole. Anna said. You are whole right now. Ariel swallowed. Her throat felt like it had a pebble in it. I keep thinking they did this on purpose, like they want me to see. Maybe. Maybe not. But their reasons are not your master. Ariel leaned back on the sofa. The tea steamed on the table. A little clock ticked in the kitchen. Outside, tires hissed on the wet street. The world kept doing what it did. I'll go, she heard herself say. Anna nodded once. All right then, we plan. You wear that navy dress you love. We keep your hair soft and neat. You carry a small clutch, nothing flashy. I will drive you and pick you up. And if you give me our secret signal, I come in and get you, no questions asked. What's the signal? Anna smiled. You know I like my signals bold. You text me a sunflower. Not a word, just a sunflower. Ariel laughed. A real one this time. Who taught you emojis? Children at church, Anna said. They think I'm ancient and can't learn. I love to prove them wrong. They ate simple dinner, beans and rice with a little salad, and talked about anything but the invite. After dishes, Anna pulled a small velvet box from a drawer. Inside lay a thin silver bracelet with a cross charm, polished by years. I wore this on night shifts when your daddy was sick, Anna said, fastening it on Ariel's wrist. I looked at it when I couldn't keep my eyes open, reminded me who held me. Let it be your reminder tomorrow. Ariel ran her finger over the charm. Thank you, Mama. Sleep here, Anna said. I'll make pancakes in the morning. Ariel stayed. She folded into the old blue quilt in her childhood room and watched streetlight paint a yellow line across the wall. Sleep did not come easy, but it came. When it did, it came like a soft hand over her eyes. Saturday morning smelled like butter and syrup. Anna sang while she flip-head pancakes. She had the same little hum from years back when she came home from the hospital and made breakfast at noon. They ate, then set about the quiet work of getting ready. Ariel showered and pressed her hair into soft curls that framed her face. She chose small pearl studs and clear lip gloss. The navy dress fell to the knee and made her feel like herself. Steady, not loud. She checked her clutch. Tissues, phone, lip balm, a mint, one tiny pen. Shoes? Anna asked. Low heels, Ariel said. I want to be able to make a fast exit. Spoken like a wise woman. At 2:30 they drove to the Langford. The sky held a high white haze. The hotel rose smooth and tall, all glass and stone. On the sidewalk, a man arranged lanterns along a runner set for the exit later. A bellhop waved a gloved hand. Inside, cool air wrapped around Ariel's shoulders and smelled like lemon, polished wood, and money. Text me the sunflower if you need me, Anna said, squeezing her hand. I'll wait in the lot. I love you, Mama. I love you more. The elevator carried Ariel up. She could see her reflection in the mirrored wall. Straight back, calm mouth, eyes that said, be brave. When the doors opened, The hallway hummed with quiet joy. A woman in a pink dress fixed an earring. A man whispered into a phone. The double doors to the ballroom stood open to the scent of roses and champagne. Ariel signed the guest book with a steady hand, just like she'd promised herself. She wrote congratulations and drew a tiny heart that felt more like a period than a love note. An usher guided her to a seat on the last row. She slid in, placed her clutch on her lap, and kept her eyes on the altar flowers. They were white roses. She thought, of course. The ceremony moved like a train on time. Music, vows, a kiss, a cheer. It all happened to her from far away, as if she watched through glass. Her heart did not burst. It just made a small, tight fist and held on. When it was over, the crowd flowed towards the reception. Ariel stepped into the stream. A few people glanced and looked away. A few smiled a thin smile that did not reach their eyes. She found the place cards set in a silver frame, searched the rows, and found her name. Table 19, last card, back corner. She followed the numbers through a forest of linen and laughter. Table 1 flashed with crystal in the center by the dance floor. Table 19 sat near the service doors, where silver trays clicked and low voices called orders. At table 19 stood one chair, one plate, one small centerpiece with 3 white ranunculus and a sprig of olive. The chair faced inward, but looked like it wished it faced the wall. "Of course," she almost said aloud. Then she pulled out the chair and sat. The room was lovely. She could say that without bitterness. White drape swept like clouds. Candles trembled in glass cylinders. A string quartet played something warm. The couple moved from table to table, a small sun drawing planets into orbit. The clink of glass sent them into the first married kiss. He looked pleased with the sound. She looked hungry for it. Ariel folded her hands in her lap. She thought about how flowers behaved when no one watched. They turned toward light. They drank what they were given. They did not apologize for being. A server set water by her plate. "Bread will be right out," he said, kind without pity. She thanked him. Bread came, hot and ready to tear. She broke a roll and let the steam kiss her palm. She ate it slowly, not because she was hungry, but because the body sometimes needed a task. She caught whispers floating from a nearby table. "Is that her? Can you imagine showing up? She's brave, I'll give her that. Or foolish." She fought a flush. She breathed out through her nose and looked at the silver bracelet. Light slid over the cross. At 6:15, a toast began. A man in a tux with a big smile lifted his glass. "To Daniel and Tessa," he said, "to love that surprises us." Surprise, Ariel thought. The word had so many faces. The door by her table swung again as servers moved in and out. The one nearest held a tray high. Another passed with coffee cups stacked like small white towers. She had become a little island in a busy sea. That was when a shadow fell across the linen. She looked up. A tall man in a charcoal suit stood by the empty chair at her table. He had steel-grey eyes and a posture that said he was used to being seen but would rather be left alone. He didn't wear a boutonniere. His tie was simple. There was no ring on his hand. He smiled as if they already had a joke. Warm and easy, not too wide. Then, in a voice that carried just enough to reach the ears that needed to hear, he said, "Sorry I'm late, sweetheart. Couldn't find parking." Conversations paused. Forks hovered. The violin slid over a note and held it. Ariel's breath caught. Her mind flickered through choices in a heartbeat. The way you choose to step forward onto a moving escalator, trusting it will carry you. She let out a soft laugh that felt like a door opening and moved her clutch to make space. He slid into the chair beside her, close enough that his shoulder brushed the air near hers, but not her body. He set his phone face down, reached for the water, and then, as if this were the most natural thing, laid his hand lightly on the table so his knuckles touched her fingertips. The contact was barely there, like a question. "You made it," she said, her voice steady and just loud enough. She didn't know how her mouth had found the words, but they arrived right on time. He inclined his head, eyes kind. "Wouldn't miss it." A murmur moved like wind through grass. The closest table adjusted its interest. Pity tightened its belt and left the room. Heat rose to Ariel's cheeks, this time not from shame, but from the wild relief of being seen, simply seen, as a person worth sitting beside. The toast ended in a clatter of applause. The man lifted his glass last and tapped it once, private, against the table near her hand, as if to say, "You're not alone without a single word spoken." He turned to her then, the crowd noise dimming around them. "I'm Blake," he said softly, a voice meant for two. "May I sit here a while?" Her heart made room. All at once the heavy day felt just a shade lighter. "Yes," Ariel said, and the word came out like a promise to herself as much as to him. And for the first time that long evening, the music didn't ache. It beckoned. The room's temperature changed by a degree you could only feel from the inside. Blake's hand, warm, steady, rested over hers. The cross charm clicked, bright and small, against the rim of her glass. A server pressed through the service door and set down 2 plates as if this had been the plan all along. The band slid into a slow song that made couples draw closer. Whispers shifted to guesses. Eyes widened and softened. Those who had laughed fell quiet. Ariel breathed, and the night, which had started as a test, turned in an instant towards something else entirely. For a few moments, Ariel forgot the weight of the evening. The band played a soft tune, glasses clinked, and laughter drifted through the candlelight like the hum of summer fireflies. The man beside her, Blake, spoke in a calm, easy rhythm that steadied the strange beat of her heart. It felt unreal, like a dream stitched into the noise of a nightmare. He leaned in slightly. "You looked like you needed rescuing." Ariel blinked, trying to process the gentleness in his tone. "Was it that obvious?" "Let's just say," Blake murmured, "you stood out in a room full of people pretending not to stare." A laugh escaped her, quiet but real. It felt like breathing after holding her breath too long. Around them, the whispers softened into curious glances instead of pitying ones. He had changed the air of the room in seconds. They talked between bites of dinner, about flowers, her work, his late wife's favorite gardenias, and about how every wedding had 2 kinds of guests, those living the dream and those pretending they were. His humor wasn't loud or showy. It was quiet, observant, kind, the kind that understood hurt without needing to name it. At 7 o'clock, Daniel and Tessa began moving table to table, shining in practiced joy. When they reached table 19, Ariel's stomach tightened, but Blake's hand stayed steady beside hers. "Congratulations," Ariel said, her voice calm. "Thank you," Tessa replied, her smile a perfect photograph, too bright, too fixed. "I didn't know you'd come. I almost didn't," Ariel said simply. Daniel cleared his throat. "You look... well." Blake smiled at them, polite and unbothered. "You'll have to excuse us," he said smoothly. "Ariel promised me the next dance." The surprise on Daniel's face was almost comical. Ariel felt something inside her loosen, an invisible chain falling away. When they reached the dance floor, the band struck up a slow, sweeping tune. Blake offered his hand. "Shall we make them talk a little more?" She hesitated, then placed her palm against his. "Let's." He led gently, respectful of her space. They moved in small, careful circles near the edge of the crowd. The chandeliers shimmered above them, reflecting bits of gold on the polished floor. For the first time all evening, Ariel stopped feeling small. She wasn't someone left behind. She was someone dancing right now, in her own story. Blake leaned closer, his voice low. "You don't owe them a thing." "I know," she said, meaning it for the first time. By the time the music ended, she felt lighter. The crowd clapped. A few heads nodded in approval. It was strange how quickly humiliation could turn to awe when confidence stepped in. "Thank you," she said softly as they walked off the floor. "Any time," he replied. "You reminded me tonight why kindness still matters." They sat again for dessert. The servers brought cake layered with strawberries and cream. Blake barely touched his, watching the candlelight dance instead. He seemed thoughtful, distant, like a man used to living with ghosts. Ariel wanted to ask about his life, but held back. Instead, she said, "You saved me from a very long, very lonely evening." He smiled faintly. "I think you saved me too." "From what?" "From another event I didn't want to be at alone." She tilted her head. "You didn't have to come, you know." "Neither did you." That made her laugh again, and for the first time since she'd opened that invitation, she felt whole. As guests began to leave, Blake stood and offered his arm. "Let me walk you out." Outside, the night air smelled of rain and roses. The parking lot lights glowed like soft halos against the mist. Anna's car was parked near the edge, waiting just like she promised. Blake stopped by the curb. "It was good to meet you, Ariel. You're rare." She blushed at the unexpected compliment. "Thank you. For tonight." He nodded, hands in his pockets. "Maybe I'll see you again sometime, hopefully under less dramatic circumstances." She gave a small smile. "You never know." Her mother waved from the car window, beaming with quiet pride. Ariel turned back just as Blake's driver pulled up. He opened his umbrella, gave her a simple nod, and disappeared into the dark like a man who had stepped out of one story and into another. As she climbed into her mother's car, Anna studied her daughter's face. "You look different." Ariel touched her wrist where the bracelet rested. "Maybe I just remembered what it feels like to be treated kindly." Anna smiled. Kindness has a way of starting new chapters. The drive home was quiet, filled with the hum of tires on wet roads and the whisper of relief. Ariel leaned her head against the window and watched the city lights slide past like falling stars. For the first time in a long while, the ache inside her chest didn't feel so heavy. Somewhere between heartbreak and healing, a stranger had reminded her of something simple and holy. She was still worthy of being seen. And though she didn't know it yet, that small act of grace was only the beginning. Morning light filtered through the shop windows, catching in the glass jars and dewdrops on petals. Ariel's flower shop usually greeted her like a sanctuary, but this morning felt different. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. She wiped her hands on her apron and picked it up from the counter. Dozens of notifications blinked across the screen. A link, shared again and again, appeared at the top of every thread. Billionaire Blake Hunter's mystery date at the Langford wedding. The picture made her heart drop. There she was, holding Blake's hand, smiling in a way she barely remembered doing. The article called her a stunning unknown guest who stole the night. But the comments below turned that phrase into something crueler: speculation, judgment, and gossip spreading like wildfire. Her chest tightened. She set the phone down as though it burned. At that moment, the bell above the door chimed. Anna walked in, her kind eyes sharp with concern. "I saw the headline," she said, holding up her phone. You all right? Ariel gave a helpless laugh. I was yesterday. Come sit, baby. Anna guided her to the little table near the window where they sometimes ate lunch. Now breathe. Don't let other people's noise decide your peace. But Mama, people think They can think all they want. Anna said, firm but gentle. You know who you are. You showed grace when you could have walked away. Don't let gossip turn that into shame. Ariel nodded, though tears welled in her eyes. It's not just about me. What about him? He's famous, Mama. He didn't ask for this. Anna took her hand. Then maybe he'll call. The truth has a way of finding its way home. By late morning, it did. The phone rang again, this time an unknown number. Ariel hesitated, then answered. Miss Grant? This is Mara Lynn, Mr. Hunter's assistant. The woman's tone was professional but kind. Mr. Hunter asked me to reach out. He'd like to meet this afternoon to clarify the situation. His board is concerned, and he wants to make sure you're not uncomfortable with how this has unfolded. Oh, Ariel said, her heart speeding. Clarify. You mean, about the picture? Yes. Mr. Hunter would prefer to speak in person, if you're willing. 2 o'clock at the Hunter Philanthropic Trust, downtown. We can send a car, or you can come on your own. Ariel hesitated, looking at her hands. I'll drive myself. Excellent, Mara said. He just wants to make things right. After hanging up, Ariel sat in silence. Anna folded her arms and raised an eyebrow. Well, I have a meeting, Ariel said quietly. With him? Anna smiled softly. Then you hold your head high, same as before. You didn't do anything wrong. The Hunter Philanthropic Trust sat inside a sleek building of glass and stone, its lobby full of quiet order. A receptionist led her upstairs, where the hum of a city afternoon softened behind tinted windows. When Blake entered the conference room, he looked both exactly and nothing like the man from the wedding. The tuxedo was gone, replaced by a charcoal suit and a look of worry that made him seem more human. Miss Grant, he said, offering his hand. Thank you for coming. Please, just Ariel. He smiled faintly. Ariel, then. He gestured to a chair. I owe you an apology. You didn't sign up for any of this. She sat, folding her hands in her lap. I wasn't expecting to become clickbait, no. Blake let out a small, rueful laugh. Neither was I. The article has already reached a few million views. My board called an emergency meeting this morning. They're nervous about the optics. Optics, she repeated, meaning they think you've replaced your late wife overnight. Exactly. His eyes darkened with a quiet ache. And they think you're part of the story, someone looking for attention. Ariel flinched. That's not fair. I know. He leaned forward, elbows on the table. That's why I wanted to talk to you directly. I can make a public statement clarifying that we're not involved. But I worry that drawing more attention will only feed the fire. I've dealt with this before. The truth can drown if you shout it too soon. So what do we do? Blake hesitated. There's another option. It's unconventional, but hear me out. He explained his idea carefully. For a few weeks, just until the tabloids found another headline, they could pretend to be together. Attend a few public events as a couple, act naturally, and then quietly part ways once the attention faded. It would protect his foundation's image and give them both control of the story. Ariel blinked. Pretend to date. You can't be serious. I don't mean romance, he said quickly. It's a public arrangement, appearances only. I would compensate you for your time, though you can donate it if that feels more comfortable. Ariel crossed her arms, considering. And you think people will just believe it? They already do, Blake said softly. We might as well use that to our advantage. She studied his face. The sincerity there, the exhaustion beneath his calm surface. She saw not a billionaire trying to manipulate her, but a man trying to fix something that had spun out of control. Still, she needed to be sure. "I won't lie to my mother," she said, "and I won't be treated like a prop." Agreed. "And no touching unless it's absolutely necessary, like hand-holding for cameras." Blake smiled faintly. "Understood." She exhaled. "Then fine. But this ends when the truth stops selling." He nodded. "That's all I ask." Mara entered, tablet in hand, and handed Ariel a simple document outlining the agreement. Nothing romantic, no invasion of privacy, no binding obligations. Ariel read every line before signing. When it was done, Blake extended his hand again. "Thank you. You've just saved me from a boardroom meltdown." She shook it, her grip firm. "And you've probably just turned my quiet life upside down." He chuckled. "That's the trouble with good intentions. They're never as simple as they sound." Driving home, Ariel watched raindrops streak across her windshield. The city lights smeared into watercolor lines. Her thoughts tangled between worry and wonder. At a stoplight, she caught her reflection in the glass. Eyes tired but alive, mouth set in determination. For the first time in years, she was part of a story that wasn't about what she'd lost. It was about what she was choosing. When she reached home, Anna waited by the window, knitting half forgotten in her lap. "Well?" she asked as Ariel stepped inside. "I made a deal," Ariel said, "with a billionaire." Anna's eyebrows rose. "Lord help us." Ariel laughed softly and sank into the couch. "It's pretend, just for a few weeks, to help his charity and clear up the gossip." Anna gave a knowing smile. "Sometimes pretend things have a way of showing real hearts." Ariel groaned, playfully. "Don't start matchmaking already." "I'm not," Anna said, resuming her knitting. "I'm just saying, life has funny timing. God, even funnier." They both laughed, the sound light and healing. That night, as Ariel drifted into sleep, she thought about Blake's eyes. Steady, kind, but shadowed. She didn't know much about him yet, but something told her he carried his own scars. And maybe, just maybe, this strange arrangement would be the place where two lonely lives began to heal in ways neither expected. Monday morning came bright and clean. Sun sat on the shop window like a warm hand. Ariel unlocked the door, breathing in the cool, green scent of buckets and stems. The weekend felt like a dream that had left a trace of glitter on her life. But the phone on the counter reminded her it was real. Messages waited from Blake's assistant, Mara. There was a time, date, and a short note. Agreement ready. First appearance, Wednesday evening, literacy fundraiser. She read the note twice, then called Anna. "Mama, it's starting." "Then walk steady." Anna said, "You do not have to be more than you are. Being you is enough." At 10 o'clock, Ariel drove downtown. The building where the Hunter Philanthropic Trust lived rose like a thin sheet of glass. It reflected the sky so perfectly the clouds looked trapped inside. Security checked her in. The elevator hummed. When the doors opened, Mara stood waiting with a neat smile and a tablet hugged to her chest. "Good morning, Ariel," she said. "Come this way. We'll keep it simple." They reviewed the agreement, just the same as yesterday, only signed now and filed. No romance terms, no invasion of her private life. If either of them felt unsafe or uncomfortable, the arrangement would end. The stipend line made Ariel pause. She remembered what she had told Blake. She would not keep the money. On the signature page, she added a small note in careful script. "All funds directed to New Hope Widows Support, First Baptist Community Fund." Blake arrived as she put down the pen. He looked rested but guarded, like a man who had slept with one eye open. "Morning," he said softly. "Morning," she answered. He glanced at the note. "You don't have to do that." "I want to," she said. "It'll help me feel clean in this." He nodded. "Then I'll match it." "You don't have to." "I want to," he said, and his mouth tipped in a small smile that looked almost shy. Mara led them to a media room with 2 chairs, a small table, and bottled water. "This is not a press interview," she said. "It's practice. Simple phrases you can fall back on if anyone pushes. We stay kind, we stay firm, and we always redirect to the cause." "Okay," Ariel said, feeling her stomach flutter. Mara held the tablet. "If someone asks how you met," Blake answered, "At a wedding. I noticed she was alone. I joined her." "And why are you together now?" "We enjoy each other's company," Ariel said. "We care about the same work." "And if someone tries to dig into his late wife?" Mara asked, eyes gentle. "We don't compare past and present," Blake said. "We honor both." Mara nodded. "Good. Remember your signal if crowds feel heavy. 2 taps on the wrist. Step outside together. No one needs to know why. You control the pace." Ariel practiced the phrases until her voice felt steady. She learned how to walk past a camera without breaking stride. She learned to rest her face so it looked calm, not stiff. She learned to hold his hand with ease but space. It was odd to rehearse human warmth. Odd and a little sad. But it was also wise. The world could be loud. You needed a plan to keep your heart quiet. They set the schedule. Monday afternoon would be normal work for Ariel. Tuesday would be a soft prep day. No public events, just details. Wednesday would be the literacy fundraiser. Doors at 6, photos at 6:15, speeches at 7. There would be a corner of the room she and Blake could use to breathe. There would be 1 reporter pre-cleared for 2 questions. There would be a car to pick her up and a car to bring her home. "You can always say no," Mara reminded her. "At any moment." "I know," Ariel said, and she meant it. She felt it in the weight of the bracelet on her wrist. She could choose. She could leave. And because she could, she did not want to run. She stopped by the shop on her way home. Keisha, her part-time helper, was packing roses into a wall cooler. "You look fancy," Keisha said, grinning. "I signed some papers," Ariel said. "I'll be helping a charity for a few weeks." "I saw the blog," Keisha said, voice low with care. "People talk. Let them. I know you. And I know you come to work and pay your bills and bring soup when I'm sick. That's the truth I'm following." Ariel felt a rush of gratitude. "Thank you." They worked together through lunch and into mid-afternoon. Ariel made 2 bridal sample bouquets. She pulled stems like she pulled thoughts. Slow, sure, gentle, no waste. She wrote a delivery card for a man who wanted to say sorry to his sister. She swept the floor. She locked up. On her drive home, clouds built on the horizon like mountains. Rain marched in neat lines across the highway ahead. She parked in front of Anna's building and climbed the stairs. The hallway smelled like laundry and the neighbor's garlic bread. When Anna opened the door, she had that bright face again. "Well?" she asked. "It's on," Ariel said. "Wednesday night. Then Tuesday we prepare. Tonight we eat. And we thank God for breath, one more time." They ate chicken and rice and sliced peaches from a jar. They watched an old game show and yelled out answers no one had asked them. After dishes, Anna brought out her sewing kit and adjusted the hem of Ariel's cream dress. "Not because you need fixing," she said, mouth full of pins. "Because the dress should honor the woman." Ariel hugged her. "You always know what to say." "Not always," Anna said, "but I know who to ask when I don't." Tuesday passed like a quiet river. Ariel answered vendor emails, confirmed a Saturday wedding delivery, and set aside stems for a new arrangement. Between tasks, she practiced the small phrases Mara taught her until they felt like part of her natural speech. She filled a little pouch with essentials: a compact, a comb, one safety pin, a spare hair tie, peppermint oil, tissues. She placed the pouch in her cream clutch. In the late afternoon, her phone pinged. A picture appeared from an unknown number, but the note above it said, "From Adam, sent by Dad." The photo showed a simple sketch of a sunflower, petals wide, stem a little crooked, a child's careful hand doing its best. Beneath it, a caption. For Ms. A, Ariel smiled without thinking. She typed back, "Tell him thank you, it's perfect." Then, after a beat, "If he ever wants to see how to press one, I can show him." A moment later, another message came. "Saturday morning, if that works. No cameras. Just us." She read it twice and wrote, "Yes." She downloaded the picture and set it as her lock screen. When she raised her phone, the sunflower winked at her. It felt like a little shield. It felt like a little boy saying, "You helped." Her eyes warmed. That night, Anna made tea and read a psalm out loud. "He restores my soul," she read. "He leads me beside quiet waters." Ariel closed her eyes. She pictured a riverbank. She pictured putting the loud world down like a heavy bag and sitting with her feet in the water. She slept early and well. Wednesday morning dawned soft and grey. The air held a fine mist that kept the dust down and the birds singing. Ariel opened the shop at 8. She arranged lilies in a wide bowl for a lawyer's retirement party and a baby's breath wreath for a christening. She wrote, "Congratulations" on one card and "welcome" on another. When noon came, she closed early and hung a hand-lettered sign. "Closed at 12 today. Thank you." At 2, she showered and did her hair. She chose the cream dress Anna had hemmed and a thin gold chain to rest in the hollow of her throat. The cross bracelet wanted to be with her, so it came too. She slipped on nude heels and a soft shawl that felt like a friendly arm. She checked her clutch twice and then breathed like a steady metronome. At 5:30, she heard a car door and looked out. A black sedan idled at the curb. The driver checked his watch, then looked up and saw her. He smiled and touched the brim of his cap. Anna walked her to the porch. "Sunflower if you need me," she said. "I know. And if you don't send the sunflower, I will still pray like you did." "I know," Ariel whispered, hugging her tight. The ride across town felt calm. The driver did not talk more than, "Hello, and how are you?" The city slid by in soft colors. People in rain jackets crossed streets with quick, neat steps. Dogs shook water off their ears. Street vendors packed up umbrellas and folded tables. The sedan turned the corner and eased beside a long, low building with clean lines and warm lights. Banners hung above the entrance. "Read to Rise, an evening for literacy." Blake waited under the awning. He wore a navy suit and an open, careful expression. When the driver opened Ariel's door, Blake took a step forward and offered his hand. "Thank you for coming," he said, voice low. "Thank you for asking," she answered. Together, they walked toward the doors. Cameras waited beyond the glass, like curious birds. A volunteer clipped name badges to a tablecloth. A stand held programs. An older woman in a red jacket beamed at them. "Welcome, welcome," she said. "We're so glad you're here." Mara met them just inside. "2 photos?" she murmured. "One short clip for the Foundations page. Then we move to the step and repeat, just 1 minute, and we're done." Her eyes flicked to Ariel. "You all right?" "I'm all right." They stood before a low wall washed in soft light. A photographer lifted his camera. One smiling, he said. One neutral. Perfect, and thank you. He lowered the camera. That was easy. Appreciate it. Ariel let out a breath she hadn't noticed holding. Blake felt it, or guessed it, because he let his hand slide over hers for a second. 2 taps. Not to ask for air, just to say, I'm here. They went to the step and repeat. The Foundation's logo repeated in tidy rows. A second camera clicked. One reporter, pre-cleared, stepped forward with a handheld mic. Just a word? She asked. Blake nodded. Sure. Why literacy? The reporter asked. Because words open doors. He said simply. And people deserve doors that open. And you? The reporter said to Ariel. Why tonight? Because stories saved my life more than once. Ariel said. Books held me when days were hard. I want that for other people too. The reporter smiled, pleased. Thank you both. She stepped back. Cameras lowered. The air shifted. The hard part was done. They moved into the main room. It glowed like a library in a dream. Wood shelves, warm pools of light, framed prints of book covers along the wall. Low tables held stacks of new books tied with twine. Volunteers placed small cards on each table with simple sentences a child might read. I can read. We can grow. Nice, Ariel whispered. Blake's eyes softened. I like when events remember the point. They greeted a handful of donors. Some Ariel recognized from the wedding, which made her want to laugh. People were kinder without a bride in the room. An English teacher told them about a boy who learned to read at 9 and could not stop. A principal thanked them both for coming. A teenager with a shaky voice read a poem she wrote about letters being little lights you could put in your pocket. Ariel felt steady and glad. She felt useful, which was better than feeling noticed. The program began. A singer with a guitar sang a song about turning pages and turning years. A woman told a story about learning to read at 40. She cried while she spoke it and made the whole room cry with her. A small child, maybe 6, took the mic and read a page from a picture book about a blue bear who wanted to paint the sky. The room clapped like he had done a magic trick. At 7:30, the speeches paused for a stretch. Ariel and Blake stepped toward the back wall where bottled water waited on a tray. That was when she saw the boy. He stood half-hidden near a column, sketchbook pressed to his chest. His hair fell over his eyes. He wore a neat button shirt and sneakers too clean to be accident. His gaze slid away from the people and settled on spines of books like they might talk to him if he stared hard enough. Blake followed her line of sight. His face changed, soft with something private. Adam, he called gently. The boy looked up, wary and dear at once. He walked over in a straight line. He stopped a foot away, like a soldier measuring respect. This is Ariel, Blake said. Ariel, this is my son. Ariel smiled. Hi, Adam. He nodded. Hi. I got your sunflower. Ariel said. It's on my phone now. I see it all day. A small smile ghosted across his mouth. He held up the sketchbook. I drew a new one. May I see? He handed it over without a word. Inside, a field of sunflowers leaned toward a pale sun. The shapes were simple, the lines sure. It wasn't perfect. It was better than perfect. It was honest. She felt her eyes warm. It's beautiful, she said softly. Do you like drawing flowers? He shrugged. They don't look back at me. Ariel felt that. I understand. Blake glanced between them. He looked proud and relieved. Ariel knows how to press petals, he told Adam. She said she'd show you on Saturday if you want. Adam's eyes lifted. Can we do blue ones? Hydrangea? Ariel asked. He nodded. That was my mom's favorite. Ariel met Blake's gaze. It held a quiet ache, but not the kind that begged for pity. the kind that had learned to walk with company. "We can try blue," she said. "Blues are tricky, but we'll try." Adam's mouth, which had been a straight line, curved up. "Okay." A volunteer approached with a tray of cookies. "Would you like one?" she asked Adam. He picked a plain one. Ariel took a small chocolate. Blake shook his head, then reconsidered, and took a lemon shortbread. They stood together a moment, not saying much, just being people holding cookies in a room that smelled like paper and sugar and rain. When the program resumed, Adam slipped back to his corner, sketchbook in hand. Ariel watched him draw. A page turned, a shadow of a smile, the curve of the pencil like a quiet song. She thought, "Let him keep this safe space, Lord. Let it grow." The final speech was short and good. The director of the program thanked everyone for coming and gave a number: 200 new tutoring pairs funded tonight. The room clapped like it had done a good day's work. And it had. Mara appeared at Ariel's elbow. "We can slip out the side if you like," she said. "It's quieter. Thank you," Ariel said. Blake said goodnight to 3 donors in a row, never rushing, always looking them in the eyes. Adam reappeared and took his father's hand without looking up. The 4 of them moved toward a side hallway lined with posters of children holding books. At the exit, the older woman in red popped up again with a soft laugh. "Did you have a nice time?" she asked. "We did," Ariel said. "It was healing." "Good," the woman said, patting her arm. "Come back. Bring friends. Bring flowers." They stepped into the night. Rain had started again. Finer now, more like mist than rain. It touched hair and cheeks and made the street lamps look like moons. The driver hurried forward with umbrellas. He handed one to Blake and one to Ariel. Adam stuck out his tongue and caught a drop, then looked embarrassed like he had been caught doing a baby thing. Ariel winked. He blinked, then smiled. At the curb, Blake turned to her. "Thank you," he said. "You were steady." "You too," she said. "And Adam, he's a wonder." Blake's voice softened. "He is. I'll see you Saturday," she said. 10 o'clock, no cameras." "Of course," he said. "Just us." They stood a second longer, letting the quiet say more than words could. Then the driver opened the sedan for Ariel, and Blake walked Adam to their car. The ride back to her street felt shorter than the ride out. The city, even in rain, wore its lights like gentle jewelry. When the sedan stopped, Ariel saw the porch light already on. Anna stood behind the screen door, that same small smile waiting like a coat left warm by the stove. Ariel tipped the driver, thanked him, and climbed the steps. The rain on her shawl sparked in the light like dust made of stars. She stepped inside and leaned against the door for a soft second. "Well?" Anna asked, eyes bright. "It went well," Ariel said. "We did photos. We answered 2 questions. We listened to poems. We ate cookies. And I met his son." Anna's eyebrows rose in delight. "And?" "He's quiet," Ariel said, "and brave. And he drew me a sunflower." Anna's hand went to her heart. "Of course he did." They moved to the couch like they had 1,000 evenings before. Anna tucked a blanket over Ariel's knees and brought her a mug of something warm. The clock ticked. The rain softened. The world kept breathing. Ariel touched the cross on her bracelet. "It felt honest. Tonight?" she said, "even if the way we got there was strange. God has used stranger roads." Anna said, "He knows how to make crooked lines into something that points home." Ariel smiled into her mug. She pictured Adam's careful letters. For Ms. A, she pictured blue hydrangea petals pressed flat, color kept, memory kept, grief made softer by the work of hands. She pictured Blake standing still in a doorway, letting other people talk first so he could listen better. It was late when she stood to go. She hugged Anna at the door. "Saturday," she said. 10 o'clock. We'll press flowers." "I'll make sandwiches," Anna said. "Artists get hungry." Ariel laughed, kissed her mother's cheek, and stepped back onto the porch. The rain had slowed to a faint mist. The neighborhood held its breath like it did at the end of a good hymn. She walked to her door, turned the key, and slipped inside her little home. She set her clutch on the dresser. She kicked off her shoes. She stood at the window and watched the streetlight pour a yellow path over the pavement. In the glass, she saw her face. Tired, yes, but open. She noticed the small lift at the edge of her mouth, a line that had not been there for months. She whispered into the empty room, but not to herself. "Thank you." Then she turned off the light, and the quiet, grateful house held her like a friend. Saturday came bright and clear, with a blue sky that looked scrubbed clean. The storm had washed the city overnight, and the sidewalks shone like new coins. At 8:30, Ariel unlocked her shop, turned on the soft lamps, and filled the kettles to warm water for the stems. She opened the big front window to let in the cool morning air and the smell of wet pavement. The bell over the door chimed once as if to say good morning back. She wanted the studio to feel friendly, not formal, so she set out 3 stools by the wide work table, laid fresh parchment sheets in neat stacks, and placed 2 heavy old books, Atlanta Trees and the Language of Flowers, on one end for pressing. She added a 3rd book after a second's thought, an old family Bible with worn leather and a frayed ribbon, not to use for pressing, but to keep nearby like a quiet anchor. She filled 2 shallow trays with blooms, pansies, violas, small fern fronds, a single blue hydrangea head she had saved back, and 1 bright sunflower. She knew blues were hard to keep true after pressing, but she wanted to try for Adam's sake. At 9:30, she texted Blake. "Door is open. See you at 10. No cameras, just coffee." His reply came at once. "On our way. Thank you." She checked the time, wiped down the counter again, even though it was already clean, and set a small hand-lettered sign in the window that read, "Private Workshop 1012. Back at 1. At 9:50, she made cocoa on the shop's little hot plate and poured it into 2 paper cups for her guests. She poured coffee into a mug for herself, then added a 2nd mug because she guessed Blake might prefer that to cocoa. She set the cups near the work table and breathed in the warm, sweet smell. The bell chimed right at 10. Blake pushed the door open and held it for Adam, who stepped in with a quiet, focused face and a sketchbook tucked under his arm. He wore clean sneakers, a blue t-shirt under a grey hoodie, and the careful look of a child entering a new room without knowing the rules. Blake wore jeans, a neat navy sweater, and gratitude like a 2nd coat. "Good morning," Blake said with a small smile. "We brought something." He lifted a paper bag that smelled faintly of cinnamon. "Donuts, from the corner bakery." "That was kind," Ariel said, returning the smile. "Come on back. We're set up." Adam's eyes flicked over the room. Buckets of color, a wall of ribbon, the old wooden table, the 2 heavy books. Safe places, he seemed to decide. He moved to the stool closest to the pansies and set his sketchbook down. He didn't say much, but his shoulders loosened a notch. Ariel slid the cocoa toward him. "For you," she said. "It's hot, so sip slow." He nodded and took a careful drink, holding the cup with both hands. Blake wrapped his fingers around the coffee mug and let the heat sit there. The morning light reached across the table like a friendly hand and stopped just short of their fingers. "Before we begin," Ariel said, "I want to tell you a secret." She leaned in, stage whisper soft. "Most flowers like to be pressed the way people like to be heard, gently. Not rushed, not smashed, just held in place until they're ready. Adam half smiled. Okay. We start with something easy, she said. Pansies are good learners. They forgive mistakes. She showed him how to pick one bloom by the stem, lay it face down on the parchment, and fold the paper over like a blanket. We press them flat so the color stays. If we hurry, they wrinkle or turn brown, but if we wait, they keep their shape and their light. Adam laid a pansy down with the buzzing focus of a child who wanted to do it right the first time. His fingers were small but sure. He smoothed the paper and looked up to check if he had done it right. Perfect, Ariel said. Now we stack. She placed Atlanta trees on top. This book knows how to be patient. That made him smile wider. They worked side by side, their motions quiet and steady. Ariel showed him how to tuck fern fronds so the tiny fingers didn't break, how to trim a viola's stem to keep the head from lifting as it dried, how to place petals on a separate sheet when a flower fell apart and you still wanted to save the pieces. Each small success put a little light in Adam's eyes. Blake watched with a look Ariel had come to recognize, a mix of pride and relief, like watching a fever break. They reached the sunflower. Adam stared at it a long moment, then traced the circle of the center, with one finger, like a boy checking a wheel on a tiny cart. Can we press this one? He asked. We can press part of it, Ariel said. Sunflower heads are too thick to lay flat and dry well, but we can take petals and save them. She gently removed 5 petals and arranged them like rays. We can make a new sun, one that fits the page. Adam nodded. He took 3 petals and added them to her 5, creating a bright halo on the paper. A sun needs a lot of light, he said. It does, Ariel said, especially on hard days. They came to the blue hydrangea. The flower head was a ball of tiny stars. Blues were stubborn. They wanted to fade to grey. This one is a little tricky, Ariel said, lifting it with care. Blue is shy when it dries, but if we're gentle and we check it after a day, we might keep some of the color. She let him choose 2 clusters and place them on a fresh sheet. That was my mum's favorite, Adam said, his voice thin but steady. She liked them in big jars on the porch. She said they looked like clouds that forgot to float. Ariel's throat tightened. That's a good picture, she said. Clouds that forgot to float. Blake's eyes went soft at the edges. He stood a little straighter, as if standing could hold his son's memory in place. She loved that porch, he said gently. She read there. What did she read? Ariel asked, voice warm. Anything with people who kept going, Blake answered. She liked stories where things went wrong but didn't stay wrong. This will be that kind of story, Ariel said, and meant it. They finished a first stack of papers. Adam added a second stack with a rhythm now, confident after seeing how the weight settled without tearing the petals. When they placed the language of flowers on top of the last stack, Ariel tapped the cover. This book says blue hydrangea means gratitude, sometimes apology too. A lot of old meanings passed down that way. People needed flowers when they didn't have good words. Adam looked serious. I have words sometimes, he said, but they hide. That's okay, Ariel said. We can make pictures while we wait for the words to come back. Blake sipped his coffee and watched the 2 of them. His shoulders had eased, and his face had lost that slight, guarded look he often wore in public. How long do they stay under the books? He asked. About a week for most, Ariel said. The hydrangea we check sooner so the color doesn't run away. Tomorrow I'll peek at them. I'll send a picture. Adam brightened. To my dad's phone? He glanced up at Blake. So I can see? Yes, Ariel said. To your dad's phone. They took a short break and tried the donuts. The sugar made even the flowers smell sweeter. Adam picked a plain glazed. Ariel took one with chocolate frosting and tiny rainbow sprinkles. Blake reached for a cinnamon twist and laughed quietly when the sugar dusted his sweater. For a few minutes, the only sounds were small bites, paper crinkling, and the street noise from outside, delivery trucks, a bike bell, a laugh from someone passing by the window. When they were done eating, Ariel brought out a small wooden frame with a glass front. "This is for later," she said. "When the pansies are ready, we'll make your first picture." Adam ran his fingers along the frame's smooth edge. "Can I write words on the paper too?" "You can," she said. "You can write anything you want, or you can just sign your name. Both are brave." He nodded and tucked the frame back into the box, careful and sure, as if putting away a promise he didn't want to lose. They pressed a few more petals, this time letting Adam lead. He invented small patterns, 3 petals like a bird wing, tiny ferns in a fan, a circle of viola heads like a little crown. He didn't talk much, but he hummed under his breath, a tuneless little song that made Ariel think of summer evenings and porch lights. It sounded like a child forgetting to be careful for a minute. At 11:45, they began to clean up. Ariel showed Adam how to wipe stems with a damp cloth and put tools back in a row. She labeled the stacks A+A, 1014 with a pencil so the graphite wouldn't bleed. "A plus A," she said. "Artist and artist." Adam's smile reached his eyes. "A plus A," he echoed softly. Blake checked the clock. "It's almost noon," he said. "We promised to be out by 12 so you could eat and rest." "You can stay," Ariel said, then caught herself. She didn't want to tug at their schedule. "But I promised myself sandwiches from the deli, so I guess I have a date with the turkey on rye." Blake laughed. "That's a strong date." Adam looked up. "Can we come? I mean, Dad can say no if he's busy. He stopped, cheeks pinking, as if he had asked for too much. Blake met Ariel's eyes, a question and a thank you there. "We can," he said, "if it's okay with Ms. A." "It is," Ariel said, smiling. "There's a table outside. The pigeons will beg, but they're liars. Don't feed them." "Noted," Blake said gravely, like a man accepting a serious charge. They closed the shop together. Ariel flipped the sign to back at 1, Blake turned the lower lock at her nod, and Adam tugged the door until it clicked. They walked the 2 blocks to the deli, passing the same bakery where the donuts had come from. A warm, yeasty smell rolled out onto the sidewalk like a hug. The deli bell jingled under their hands, and a man behind the counter called, "Hey, flower lady!" which made Adam grin as if his friend had been called famous. They ordered simple food, turkey on rye for Ariel with lettuce and mustard, ham and Swiss on white for Adam, pastrami for Blake. They added a bowl of pickles, a small tub of potato salad, and 3 lemonades, the kind that leave pulp on your tongue. They took a table outside under a metal umbrella with a chipped edge, and the city moved around them like a gentle river. Cars, footsteps, the hiss and sigh of buses, a violin on a far corner humming a line of Amazing Grace. For a while they ate in easy silence, like people who had nothing to prove. Adam balanced a pickle on the edge of his plate, focused like it was a science project. Blake wiped a dot of mustard from his wrist and pretended not to see Ariel watching with a smile. Ariel tore her sandwich into careful halves, then into quarters, because halves sometimes felt too big on a tender day. Halfway through the meal, Adam spoke without looking up. "My mom used to bring hydrangeas inside when they got heavy with rain. She said flowers sometimes need help carrying what's too much." Ariel's chest ached in a sweet, sharp way. "Your mum was wise." Blake nodded, voice low. "She was." Adam took a breath like he had been holding it a while. "I don't remember everything. I remember the porch, and that she put lemon in her tea and said it made sunshine in a cup. That's a good picture too, Ariel said. Sunshine in a cup. He nodded and took a drink of lemonade, as if trying the idea out in real time. This is almost like that. It is, Blake said, smiling at him. They talked about small things after that, favorite colors, Adam, blue, Ariel, green like new leaves, Blake, the gold light in late afternoon, favorite sounds, pages turning, pencil on paper, rain on a porch roof, favorite smells, bread, cut grass, clean laundry. The simple talk slowly stitched a warm blanket between them. A pigeon waddled under the table and looked up with bold eyes. Ariel leaned down and whispered, "You are strong and sneaky, but you will not win today." The bird blinked and walked away, offended. Adam laughed, a bright bubble of sound that made two passers-by turn and smile. He covered his mouth, surprised by his own joy, and then dropped his hand, letting the smile stay. When they finished, Ariel checked the time. "I need to get back to open the shop at 1. People will come for their weekend orders." She paused, then added, "I'm glad you came." "Me too," Adam said softly. "Me 3," Blake added, light. On the walk back, Adam walked on the curb like it was a balance beam, arms out, face serious with fun. Blake pretended not to see, and, at the same time, was clearly ready to catch him if he slipped. Ariel carried the empty lemonade cups to a trash bin and timed her steps to match theirs. At the shop door, they paused. The sign still read, "Back at 1." It was 12:58. Ariel held the door open with her hip and turned to them. "I'll text tomorrow with a photo of the hydrangea," she said to Adam. "If the blue holds, we win. If not, we try again next week." He nodded. "A +A," he said, tapping the glass with one finger where she had taped their penciled label to the inside of the window for fun. "A +A," she echoed, tapping back. Blake's gaze held gratitude and a question she couldn't yet name. "Thank you," he said, "for making room for us." "You're welcome," she said. "See you tomorrow evening. The donor supper?" "Yes," he said. "We'll keep it simple and calm." "Simple and calm sounds like a dream," she said. They said goodbye. Blake took Adam's hand, and they walked down the block together, easy in step. Ariel watched until they turned the corner, then took a breath and stepped back into the shop as the clock flipped to 1. She flipped the sign to open and smiled when a customer with a tiny dog already waited. The afternoon began. From 1 to 5, she moved through her work like a steady stream. She finished 2 corsages for a 50th anniversary party, wrapped a bouquet for a teen headed to homecoming, and built a wild, joyful vase of zinnias for a neighbor who had just gotten a new job. Her hands stayed busy, but her mind kept returning to the morning. The careful way Adam touched the petals, the quiet relief in Blake's eyes, the way the world seemed softer when they were all at the table together. She didn't try to name what that meant. Some gifts didn't need a label to be real. At 5:30 she locked up, checked the cooler, and took the trash out back. The alley smelled like wet cardboard and bread from the bakery. A cat slipped between bins and nodded as if they were acquaintances. Ariel nodded back, amused, and went to her car. At 6, she pulled up to Anna's building. The porch light clicked on before she reached the stairs. Anna opened the door with a grin that looked fresher than any flower. "You're glowing," she said, ushering Ariel in. "You saw a good thing today." "I did," Ariel said, and she told the story from the beginning. How Adam chose petals, how he said hydrangeas were clouds that forgot to float, how the pigeon had tried a con and lost. Anna laughed at that part so loudly the neighbor upstairs stomped once, then laughed too through the ceiling. "Tomorrow night is the small donor supper," Anna said when the story was done. Do you have a dress picked? I was thinking the cream one again, Ariel said. But maybe that's too plain. Plain is not a sin, Anna said. Plain is honest. But let's try the soft blue we tucked away, the one you said made you look like sky. I saved that for a happy day, Ariel said. What do you call today? Anna asked, lifting an eyebrow. Ariel smiled. A good point. They ate simple food, pasta with garlic and oil, sliced tomatoes, and a piece of peach pie that a church friend had left on the stoop with a note that said, For my favorite ladies. After dinner, Anna took the soft blue dress from the closet and pressed it with quick, expert hands while Ariel set out her shoes and a tiny silver clip for her hair. They talked about the supper. It will be smaller than the fundraiser, Ariel said. More like a long table on a roof. Blake said the sunset is pretty up there. He said sometimes he pretends the city is quiet and listens to the wind. We can make quiet, Anna said, even in a crowd. They paused to pray. Anna's prayer was simple. Thank you for new mercy and old wisdom. Make our yes small and our no strong. Keep our hearts soft. Amen. After they did what they always did on good nights, they washed dishes together, laughing at nothing, telling little stories about neighbors and church and funny things on TV. Ordinary joy filled the spaces between words like warm light. When the dishes were stacked to dry, Ariel stood at the window and looked out at the way the street lamp turned the wet leaves into coins. Today felt like a hinge, she said, like a door swung a little more open. Anna slipped an arm around her. Then we walk through one step at a time. No running. No looking back over your shoulder to see who's watching. Just step and step and step. Ariel leaned into her mother's shoulder. Tomorrow I'll send a picture of the hydrangea to Adam. If the blue holds, he'll be proud. And if it doesn't, then he'll learn that trying is its own kind of win. Anna smiled. You're learning that too. At 9, Ariel headed home. The air was soft and cool now. She parked, locked the car, and walked up her own steps with tired legs and a full heart. Inside, she set her phone on the dresser and, out of habit, touched the screen to wake it. The lock screen lit up with Adam's sunflower drawing. She traced one petal with her eyes. It looked brave. It looked like a small, true sun that knew how to light a room without setting anything on fire. She washed her face, brushed her hair, and set the soft blue dress over the back of a chair for the next evening. She checked her clutch, tissues, peppermint oil, the tiny pen, and slipped the cross bracelet inside so she wouldn't forget it. Before she turned out the light, she scribbled a note to herself on a sticky pad and stuck it to the door. Hydrangea check. Send pic to A+A. She climbed into bed, pulled the covers to her chin, and let the day replay in gentle scenes. Parchment folded like blankets, petals laid like prayers, a boy's small hand arranging a new sun, a man's careful smile when his son laughed without guarding it. Each picture felt like a bead on a string. She counted them. She thanked God for them. Sleep came slow and sweet. In her last waking thought, she saw hydrangeas the size of clouds, resting in wide glass jars on a porch that faced a quiet street. And she heard a woman's voice she had never met say, "Sometimes even flowers need help carrying what's too much." Then the porch light clicked on in her dream, and everything was blue and kind. Sunday rose, slow and bright, like the city wanted to give everyone a gentle morning. Ariel woke early and lay still a moment, listening to the soft hum of the street. The note on her door reminded her of the day's first task. Hydrangea check. Send pic to A+A. She smiled, slid into her robe, and padded to the shop with a cup of tea in hand. The shop felt cool and green. Sunlight pushed through the window, and made the buckets shine. She set the tea down, washed her hands, and moved to the work table. The stacks of parchment waited under the heavy books like small sleeping animals. She lifted the language of flowers and peeled back the top sheet with care. "Please hold," she whispered, not sure if she spoke to the blue or to her own hope. The hydrangea curls lay flatter now, still soft, not fully dry. The blue had changed a little but had not run away. Instead of bright sky, it sat in a soft dusk, lavender blue, something like memory. It was beautiful in a quieter way. She snapped a photo in the good light and sent it to Blake with a short line. For A+A, the blue stayed kind. A moment later, his reply chimed. "He's grinning. So am I. Thank you." Then another message followed. "See you tonight. Car at 5:30. She checked the pansies too. Perfect little faces, brave and flat, ready to frame in a few days. She put everything back to rest, washed her hands, and stood a long minute, breathing in the smell of leaves. Sunday mornings had always been her soft place. Church, lunch, a nap. Today added a rooftop supper to the plan. It felt big and simple all at once. At 10, she met Anna for church. They sat in their usual pew by the middle aisle. The choir's first note rose like a warm wave and spilled over the room. The pastor spoke from the book of Ruth, about showing up for one another, about gleaning what was left in a hard season and finding family you didn't expect. Anna squeezed Ariel's hand at the part where Ruth said, "Your people will be my people." It felt like a thread tugged on something new inside her. After service, they hugged friends in the lobby and promised pie dates and plant cuttings and help with someone's garage shelves that needed sorting. Simple love, passed hand to hand. They ate lunch at Anna's kitchen table. Roast chicken saved from yesterday, hot rolls, sliced peaches on crunchy lettuce. Anna brewed sweet tea, just this once, and then brewed a second glass because this once sometimes turned into a small celebration. "You look calm," Anna said, buttering a roll. "I feel steady," Ariel said, "like I can walk slow over a long bridge." Anna tilted her head. "That's a good way to feel. I sent a picture to Adam. The blue held. He smiled. He needed a win," Anna said. "So did you." They did dishes together, warm water and easy talk. Anna set the soft blue dress on a hanger near the window to let the light kiss it. Ariel took a short nap, the kind that let your bones reset. When she woke, late afternoon light slid in through the blinds in bands. She showered, did her hair in a sleek, low twist, and kept her makeup soft, just a little glow. She chose small pearl studs again, the cross bracelet, and the silver hair clip. The blue dress fell like a cloud that remembered to float. At 5:20, the black sedan pulled to the curb. Anna adjusted the bracelet and kissed her forehead. "If you feel your heart speed up, remember you know how to breathe," she said. "Remember you can step away, and remember you are loved whether you're on a roof or in this kitchen." "I'll remember," Ariel said. "I'll text when I'm home." The driver stood and opened the door with a kind smile. "Good evening." She slid inside, and the car eased into the soft gold of early evening. The city drifted by, brick walls, murals, window boxes, a child pulling a red wagon with 2 dogs riding like kings. The sedan turned into a quiet side street and stopped beside a building whose top floor wore a ring of olive trees in big planters. She could see the soft outlines of tables and string lights and linen fluttering. It looked like a little village had landed on the roof. Blake waited at the entrance, speaking with a staff member. Posture easy. When he saw the car, he stepped forward and smiled, something real and warm. He wore a dark suit without a tie, shirt open at the collar. The look made him somehow older and younger at once. He offered his hand as she stepped out. "You look like evening," he said before he could help it. "And you look like the person who asks if everyone found their seats." She teased, grateful for the way his eyes softened. He laughed softly and nodded toward the elevator. They rode up together, hands not touching yet, their reflections gentle in the brushed steel. At the roof, a hush lived under the string lights. A long table ran the length of the terrace, dressed with linen and small pots of rosemary. The city stretched in every direction, spread out under a sky that glowed peach and rose. The air smelled like herbs, warm bread, and a hint of lemon. Someone had already set down little plates of olives and almonds. Glass pitchers of water held slices of orange and sprigs of mint. Somewhere a small speaker played piano, just enough sound to make the air feel friendly. "Welcome," the host said, shaking their hands. "We keep it small. 15 tonight. Family style, no speeches, just good food and a chance to rest." "That sounds perfect," Ariel said. They sat near the center of the long table, not at the head, not tucked away. A woman across from them worked at a library. Next to her sat a teacher who ran an after-school program where kids wrote letters to their future selves. A man at the end was a baker who volunteered his ovens on weekday mornings for a breakfast reading club. Not a fancy crowd, but a beautiful one. Conversation began, not loud, just warm. People asked about favorite books growing up. Ariel said, "I loved a dog-eared copy of The Secret Garden. It smelled like dust and summer." The librarian smiled and said she still kept a copy on her bedside table because some doors are worth walking through again. Blake told a story about a teacher who let him check out 3 books at once when the rule said 1, and how that felt like a door no one could close. Heads nodded. Someone passed the bread. A server brought platters to share. Roast chicken with lemon and herbs, creamy potatoes, little green beans with slivered almonds, a salad with thin ribbons of cucumber and radish. Plates filled and emptied again. The soft buzz of forks and talk made a pleasant music. Ariel found herself relaxing the way a tight knot unwound under warm fingers. Between courses, the sky turned deeper gold. The edge of the city lit up like a slow string of lanterns. A breeze snuck up and lifted a curl by Ariel's ear. She tucked it back and smiled when Blake noticed and looked away, as if not to stare. He did that often, saw and made space. It soothed parts of her she had guarded a long time. The librarian asked, "How did you two meet?" The question came without sharp edges. It was just curiosity, the friendly kind. Blake looked at Ariel. She nodded. He could answer. "At a wedding," he said simply. "I saw her sitting alone. I couldn't bear it." He didn't say more. He did not flash the hurt like a flag. He kept the truth short and kind. There was a beat of silence. Then a man down the table raised his glass a little. "We've all been saved by small acts," he said. "Those are the ones that hold." "Amen," the baker said. The table smiled and moved on, the way gentle people do when someone has shared enough. As the sun leaned toward the horizon, a new plate arrived. Small bowls of fresh strawberries and a dish of whipped cream. Someone joked about licking the spoon. Laughter lifted and settled like birds. The baker told a story about a kid who read Green Eggs and Ham aloud in his kitchen at 6 in the morning while waiting for the first batch of bread. "The letters were like train cars bumping together," he said. He learned the rhythm before he learned the rules. Ariel thought about Adam, about petals that kept color when pressed with care, about pages that held small lights. She realized she had not checked her phone once. No prickle of panic, no doom scroll calling her name. Peace felt like a gentle country she had visited as a child and forgotten she could go back to. When the plates were cleared, people stood and wandered in little clusters to look at the view. The city gleamed like metal and honey. A tiny plane crossed the sky, quiet and far. Blake touched the inside of his wrist, 2 taps, out of habit. Not a call for help, just their language for step out? She nodded. They moved to the far corner of the roof, where the olive trees made a small screen. The breeze lifted the leaves and made a soft shh sound like a mother settling a crib. Below them, traffic whispered. Above them, dusk washed the edges of everything with tenderness. "Thank you for tonight," Blake said. "You're the one who invited me." She said. "I meant for how you are," he said. "You carry calm. People lean toward it." She looked at her hands. "It's not always like that inside." "I know," he said, and he did. Some people spoke like they knew. He had the rare kind of knowing that didn't demand proof. "I also know you didn't have to be brave the other night. You could have left that room, but you stayed, and you let a stranger sit beside you." She smiled a little. He didn't feel like a stranger for long. They stood like that, not in a hurry, letting silence do its work. He was the one to break it, voice careful. "I haven't felt this steady in a long time. Since before she got sick. Since before hospitals smelled like home, and home smelled like fear." She looked up at him. The last light of day found the grey in his eyes and made it look like a quiet lake. "I'm sorry. That's a heavy thing to carry." "I carry it better now," he said. "But I've been afraid of caring again, of loving anything I couldn't control. Even good things felt like they came with a bill." "And tonight?" she asked. "Tonight felt like a gift with no bill," he said. The word set something gentle and strong inside her chest. She didn't speak for a moment, because sometimes words crowded out the holy. Then she said, "I'm afraid too." "Of what?" His voice stayed soft. "Of being foolish," she said. "Of trusting the wrong person, of mistaking kindness for safety, of the internet deciding who I am and the world cheering." He didn't laugh. He didn't say it was silly. He said, "Those are good fears. They keep us slow. Slow can be holy." "Slow feels right," she said. "For me, for Adam, for you, for all of us." He agreed. The music at the table shifted to an old love song on piano, one that sounded like walking home at dusk. Blake glanced toward the terrace, then back to her. "There's no camera out here," he said, almost shy. "May I hold your hand? Not for a photo, just because I want to." She let the question sit a heartbeat. Then she said, "Yes." He reached out and took her hand like he had learned how to hold fragile things without making them feel fragile. Warmth ran from his palm into hers. No fireworks, no shout. Something better, a quiet surety, like stepping onto a porch you knew would hold. They stood like that while the sky dimmed to a deep, soft blue, and the first star pricked through. When they looked back towards the table, the librarian was telling a story about a 5th grader who wrote a letter to her future self, promising to be kind to the new kid. "She sealed it with tape and hope," the woman said, laughing. "She made us promise to keep it for 10 years. "I love that," Ariel whispered. "Me too," Blake said. He looked at her hand in his, then at her face. "One more question. If the answer is no, we go back to the table and eat strawberries, and I won't be embarrassed." "All right," she said, smiling in spite of herself. "May I kiss you?" he asked. "Not for show, just because the night is good and you are here." Her chest tightened, not with fear, but with something like relief. Consent asked aloud. Care wrapped around desire. "Yes," she said, steady. He stepped in slowly, giving her time to lean too. His hand stayed at her waist, not pulling, just present. The kiss was small and true. It tasted like lemon and quiet. It didn't pretend to promise forever. It promised this moment was real. When they parted, they both looked surprised by the ease of it, the way breathing surprised you after a long swim. "Thank you," he said, and she laughed, a soft, joyful sound. "I didn't mean it like a transaction. I knew how you meant it," she said, eyes bright. "Thank you too." They walked back to the table with their hands apart, but their steps matched. No one stared. No one demanded a story. The baker passed a plate of little cookies dusted with sugar. "These are dangerous," he said. "They climb into your pocket when you're not looking." Ariel took one and pretended to guard her pocket. Laughter brushed the edges of the long table like a friendly cat. A staff member dimmed the string lights a touch, and the terrace glowed like a lantern. Soon, people began to stand and hug and promise to email. The librarian pressed a card into Ariel's hand. "If you ever want to read to my little ones," she said, "you have the voice for it." "I'd love that," Ariel said, heart warming. The teacher invited her to visit the letter-writing club. The baker insisted she take 2 breakfast rolls the next time she was near his kitchen. Simple invitations built a small bridge to another week. Blake thanked the host and the staff, not with a donor's hurry, but with a friend's attention. He helped carry a stack of plates to the kitchen door. Ariel gathered a stray napkin and tucked it under the edge of a tray. Small service at the end of a nice meal felt like a blessing that cost nothing. They took the elevator down alone. The slow slide of numbers felt like a pause between 2 pages. When the doors opened, cool lobby air wrapped around them. The driver stepped forward from a bench with a kind nod. Through the glass doors, the street lamps shone like patient stars. "Let me ride you home," Blake said quietly. "Or at least to your mother's. I'd feel better." "You can take me to Mama's," Ariel said. "She'll still be up with tea." They sat in the back seat, not close, not far, the kind of space that said, "We know what happened. We do not have to explain it to ourselves to make it true." The city outside looked gentler at night. A man walked a dog in a tiny coat. A couple held hands at a crosswalk and waited for the light the way obedient people do when they choose patience on purpose. Blake cleared his throat. "I know we said we'd keep this arrangement simple, for optics, for the board, for the sake of the mission." "We did," she said. He turned his head slightly. "I want to keep the mission first, always, but I don't want to pretend with you. If we continue, I'd like to continue for real. Slow, kind, true. If you'd rather keep it only public, I will honor that without pouting." She smiled at the last word. No pouting noted. Then she thought, weighed the good fear and the good hope, and answered, "I don't want to pretend either. Slow works for me. Let's be careful with Adam and with our own hearts. Truth first." "Truth first," he echoed. The car stopped in front of Anna's building. The porch light burned like a candle in a window. Ariel turned to him. "Thank you for tonight." "Thank you," he said, "for being you." He looked like a man who wanted to say more and chose not to because restraint could be holy too. She stepped out and leaned down to the open door. "Text me when you're home," she said, "so I don't worry." He smiled. "Yes, Mom." She shut the door, and the car pulled away smooth and quiet. Anna opened the door before Ariel knocked. Her eyes went straight to Ariel's face, and the corners of her mouth lifted. "Good evening?" she asked. "A very good evening," Ariel said, moving inside. She slid off her shoes and felt her toes sigh against the rug. "Small table, kind people. No speeches. Bread and chicken and music soft as breath. We talked about books and old teachers. We looked at the city like it was a promise. And? Anna teased, pouring tea just by habit, as if reading her daughter's mind. He asked if he could hold my hand. Ariel said. Then he asked if he could kiss me. He used words. He waited for my yes. Anna set the teapot down slowly, her eyes bright. Then he understands honor. It felt safe, Ariel said. Not all at once, but in steps. Steady steps, Anna said. That's how bridges don't sway too much. They sat at the small table and sipped tea with lemon. Ariel told the stories, the librarian's letter club, the baker's 5 a.m. reading helper, the olive trees that shushed the wind. She told about the quiet corner and the kiss that felt like choosing stillness. Anna listened like a friend and a mother, both at once. When Ariel's phone buzzed, she checked it and smiled. Home. Adam is asleep. Thank you for the blue. She typed back. Thank you for the quiet. Sleep well. She set the phone down and wrapped both hands around her cup. It feels like the beginning of something, she said. Maybe it is. Anna answered. Maybe. It's the middle of a prayer you didn't know you started long ago. Either way, you're not alone in it. They washed the cups and set them in the rack to dry. Ariel hugged her mother at the door, longer than usual, like saving warmth in a jar. The hallway smelled like laundry and lemon cleaner. On the stairs, a neighbor hummed a hymn. On the street, a car door shut, and someone called goodnight. Back at her own place, Ariel hung the blue dress on the closet door and slipped into soft cotton. She stood a moment at the window and watched the quiet street. The hydrangeas in her mind glowed that soft dusk color, steady and kind. She touched the cross bracelet, now resting in a small dish, and whispered, Thank you, not once but 3 times, each word a bead on a simple string. She turned off the lamp. The room settled around her like a calm ocean. Before sleep carried her, she made one small promise to herself, simple and firm. Truth first, slow steps, open hands. Then, in the tender dark, she dreamed of a rooftop where olive leaves sang and where a good man asked instead of taking, and where saying yes felt like setting a lantern on a porch that would light the way home. Monday sunlight crept through her curtains, golden and calm, until her phone erupted. A headline glared back. Was it all a lie? Billionaire's girlfriend exposed? Ariel froze, reading Tessa's manipulated video twisting the rooftop moments into scandal. Within hours, Blake's board panicked, and gossip boiled online. Her chest tightened. She'd known peace couldn't last. Yet when Blake called, his voice steady through the chaos, she found her own resolve returning. We'll tell the truth, he said, together. Ariel looked toward the rising sun, whispering a prayer. This time, she wouldn't run. Truth had already chosen her. Tuesday dawned heavy with whispers. Ariel opened her shop, ignoring cameras outside. Inside, petals fell from their stems, silent witnesses to the storm. Her phone buzzed. Blake, we have proof, he said. Mara had traced the doctored video back to Tessa's account. Relief and sadness tangled in her chest. They planned to reveal everything at Saturday's gala. That night, Ariel knelt by her bed, asking for courage instead of revenge. She pictured blue hydrangeas, soft, forgiving, and decided truth would bloom brighter than anger. Whatever happened next, she'd face it standing tall, not hiding in the shadows. Saturday night arrived with trembling stars over the Hyatt ballroom. Ariel wore her cream dress, calm but unyielding. Blake stood beside her, hand steady at her back. Cameras flashed as he addressed the crowd. Tonight, he said, we restore truth. The lights dimmed. The big screen played security footage. Ariel seated alone, Blake's spontaneous kindness, and then Tessa whispering instructions to edit the rooftop video. Gasps rippled. Faces turned, sympathy blooming where judgment had lived. Ariel stepped forward. "Dignity isn't a performance," she said softly. "It's what we keep when everything else is taken." Applause thundered. Adam beamed from the wings, clutching his sketchbook. Blake took her hand openly now. No pretense, only gratitude. When he whispered, "Ready for a real beginning?" She smiled through tears. "Only if it starts with truth." Together they walked into the light, leaving rumor's shadow behind. Months passed, slow and kind, each one unfolding like a petal opening to sun. Ariel's flower shop thrived again, and beside it stood Anna's Grace, a bright floral therapy center for widows and single mothers. The building smelled of roses and courage. Blake had funded the renovation, but never asked for credit. He only said, "You make things grow that money can't." Adam came every weekend, sketchbook under his arm, pressing flowers and laughing louder each time. The world's noise had quieted. People no longer whispered scandal. They spoke of second chances, of beauty born from truth. On a warm Sunday, the garden behind the foundation overflowed with light. Anna poured lemonade, while children chased butterflies through tall sunflowers. Blake planted a new hydrangea bush, its blossoms already hinting blue. "We've built something good," he said, brushing soil from his palms. Ariel smiled, the wind lifting her hair. "Something honest?" Adam waved a framed drawing, sunflowers around a cross that said, "Hope grows here." Blake looked at her, then, eyes soft. "You still believe in miracles?" he asked. Ariel nodded. "I'm living one." She squeezed his hand and looked toward the shining sky. "Sometimes God doesn't change your seat, he changes who sits beside you." Together they faced the golden horizon of grace. If this story made you pause, reflect, or even smile, don't forget to subscribe. I post daily, and the next story might be exactly what you need to hear.